For the mung beans with kale and corn, what you're going to need is 200 grams of pre-cooked mung beans. For the mung beans you take to pre-cook, take about 90 grams of mung beans the night before and then soak them overnight in water. Then rinse them off the next day, place into a generous pot with water that's lightly salted, bring them to a simmering boil, and allow them to cook for about 30 minutes or until they're nice and tender. After that, I have 200 grams of kale, curly kale I'm using, but you can use one of the different other varieties such as Russian kale, Cavallo Nero. It's completely up to yourself. I've roughly cut it into small pieces, about so big. Next up, we have about 3 cloves of garlic, which are just roughly chopped. I also have 50 grams of dried goji berries, which are nutritionally an absolute powerhouse of a veg or of a little berry. Packed with antioxidants. They're very, very nice little snack kind of food or something to incorporate into your diet. I have half a red pepper, which has just been roughly cut up. I have 300 grams of corn. Now with this corn, what I've done was I bought one of the pre-cooked corns. You could of course get fresh. Unfortunately, I didn't have any around at the moment. And I cut it manually off the cob with a sharp knife. If you couldn't get this, canned corn, absolutely fine. Just drain it off before. And I also have 10 grams of cumin seed, some olive oil and salt and black pepper. Cumin seed is great whenever you're using cabbage. It's an old Arabic cabbage type dishes such as kale. It's an old Arabic trick that cumin brings down the gas created by the cabbage. So it's not a bad thing to incorporate when you're eating cabbage based dishes. Now to start this dish, what I'm going to add is a little bit of oil to my pan, not much. Now again, what I'm using is coconut oil because again, it's one of the few oils that is a saturate, but is also quite an anti-inflammatory oil. It kind of falls into a category of its own as far as oils are concerned. Sunflower oils, they're okay to fry with, but generally you lose all the benefits from them. Whereas a saturated fat tends to stay stable at high heat, but as we all know, most of the meat-based or saturated fats are meat-based, which aren't actually the best for your diet. But the coconut oil is kind of a unique oil in that it's a saturate, but it also is quite an anti-inflammatory oil. Into that, I'm going to actually first add the corn. I'm going to give a nice little bit of a sear on the corn as well. So I'm not actually going to place a lid on this because if I did, it would start to steam. Whereas I want to get a little bit of colour on it. So when you're actually frying like this, it's best to, and to allow the flavour to develop, it's best to just leave the lid off the corn for a few minutes. So let that fry away for about 4 to 5 minutes. About 4 or 5 minutes on a good high heat. I'm now going to add my onion and the red pepper. And again, I'm going to continue frying those. Just develop a little bit of flavour onto them. I'm just going to cover up that pan just for a minute and just let that cook away for about another 3 minutes. After about 3 minutes and just checking every now and again, I'm going to add my cumin and let that kind of infuse in through the corn and peppers. At this point, I'm just going to add a little bit of seasoning. The reason I didn't add it earlier was because I want to get a little bit of colour into the corn. And as with any vegetable, if you season, add a little bit of salt onto it at the beginning, it'll start drawing out the moisture from inside the veg. And that will prevent any kind of nice colour developing. At this point now, I'm also going to add my garlic. Let that just cook away there for just a couple more seconds. Then I'm going to add all my kale. Now at this point with the kale, I'm going to add a little bit of water. Say about half a cup. And then I'm going to cover up with a nice tight fitting lid. Allow the kale to steam for about 5 to 7 minutes. Kale is cooking. Just remove the lid every now and again and have a quick check. Stir it around, mix it through the corn as it starts to cook down and render down a little bit. And if you start feeling your pan is getting a little bit dry, just add a little drop more water. See, that's just cooking down nicely now. When the kale is cooked down a little bit, after about 5 minutes, and as you can see, it's just rendering down nicely, but there's still quite a bit of bite in the kale. It does take a bit of cooking. But I'm going to now add the goji berries. You can see you're getting a lovely vivid red from those. And again, if your pan is a little bit dry, avoid adding water or adding oil, a little drop of water. You can just check your seasoning and if necessary, just add a little piece more salt as well. At this point, you can add your mung beans. And then just allow the whole dish to cook, heat up and kind of render down a little bit. And again, if you're feeling it's getting a little bit dry, again, just add water. As you can see, it's lovely, colourful, and the more colours in your diet or in any dish, generally the better it is. I'm just going to cover that up now and let it all steam there together, just to allow the kale to cook through. Again, after another 4 minutes or so, the kale is starting to get nice and tender now. The cumin, all of those flavours are coming together nicely. And I'm going to just season with a little bit of black pepper. I've already seasoned with salt, so that's fine. But if you think it needs a little more, again, that's up to your own taste. And now I'm going to add a little piece of good quality olive oil, just to mellow the whole dish out. And that is almost it. This is one of those big filler-upper kind of dishes that you can eat plenty of. It'll certainly fill you up, but from a calorific point of view, it is a dish that you can eat plenty of. It's all about colour and nutrients. You could serve this as a side to a nice piece of fish or so on as well, but it's fine as a dish on its own. It's actually quite well balanced. The beans are bringing plenty of protein into the dish. You have vegetables, you have everything you really need to enjoy a good hearty dinner.